Hi, my name is Anna Mae Hine, and I'd like to share with you the miraculous story of Our Lady of Fatima. This show is being presented at the high school level, and the black and white photos you see during the show are actual newspaper accounts from 1917. Any colors added are my edits to enhance the story. One of the most famous and reliably documented appearances of the Blessed Mother of Jesus occurred to three shepherd children in Fatima between May 13th and October 13th in 1917. Fatima, Portugal was known for agriculture and livestock during the time of the apparitions. Between 1914 and 1918, World War I was devastating Europe. Portugal was in political chaos with several changes in leadership and the harassment of Catholics. In December 1917, just 2 months after Our Lady's appearances, the dictator Sedisimo came to power and returned traditional values, including the tolerance of Catholicism. The story of Fatima did not start in 1917, nor did it start with Jacinta and Francisco, and nor did it start with the vision of Our Lady. It actually started in 1915 with a series of visions with Lucia and her friends Maria and Teresa Mateus and Maria Justino. Lucia was the only child that saw all of the apparitions. They were watching their sheep on the top of a hill. After lunch, while saying their rosary, they saw a figure poised in the air above the trees. It looked like a statue made of snow. In early 1916, when Francisco turned 9 and Jacinta was 7 years old, they were finally allowed to shepherd the family flock and join their cousin Lucia in the Cave de Areo, that is, the Cove of Irene. They also began to see the angel of Portugal, who told them not to be afraid and to pray, "My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love you. I ask pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love you." During that fall, the angel visited them for the last time, prayed with them, and gave them communion. In this way, the children were prepared for the Blessed Mother. On May 13th, 1917, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta were tending sheep when they saw a bolt of lightning in the distance. They decided to gather the sheep and head home. A bolt of lightning flashed before them. A lady, who appeared brighter than the sun, became visible about 4.5 feet in front of them before an oak tree. She radiated such a clear and intense light that they were partially enveloped in it. Francisco was the only one that could not hear the lady speaking, so it is he that gives us the most detailed description of Our Lady's physical features. The lady wore a pure white mantle, edged with gold, and which fell to her feet. In her hands the beads of a holy rosary shone like stars, with its crucifix the most radiant gem of all. Lucia said that the lady told her she came down from heaven and would meet them on the 13th of each month for the next 6 months, and at that same hour. She instructed them to say the Holy Rosary every day in order to end the war and bring peace. The children watched as her radiance made a pathway upward and disappeared in the far distance. Lucia made the younger children promise not to tell anybody because it would cause trouble. Even so, Jacinta, the youngest, told her family. Her mother did not believe her. Her father did not think a child so young could make up such a story. After word got out, Lucia's mother was very upset with her and took her to the parish priest, Father Ferreira. Lucia refused to recant her story. A small group of people joined the children for the second apparition on June 13th. Our Lady appeared at noon after they had said the rosary. She gave the famous instructions for recitation at the end of each mystery of the rosary. Lucia asked if she would take them to heaven. Our Lady said that Jacinta and Francisco will go to heaven soon, but Lucia will remain. Jesus wants to make her known and loved on earth so she can establish devotion to the Lady's Immaculate Heart. The Lady opened her hands, and the children experienced once again an immense light that submerged them in the presence of God. She showed them her heart, surrounded with thorns caused by blasphemies and ingratitude. She promised to assist them at the moment of death and give all the graces necessary for salvation to those who, on the first Saturday of 5 consecutive months, confess, receive Holy Communion, recite 5 decades of the Rosary, and keep her company for 15 minutes while meditating on the mysteries of the Rosary, with the intention of making reparation to her. A very large group of people attended the third apparition. The Lady repeated that she wanted many prayers of reparation and the daily recitation of the Rosary. She also wanted them to continue returning on the 13th through October. Then she will tell them who she is and will perform a great miracle so everyone may believe. She then delivered the first secret, the vision of hell. Lucia saw a great sea of fire from under the earth. There were demons and souls in human form like transparent burning embers, all blackened and floating around. They rose and fell like sparks in a huge fire. They screamed, shrieked, and groaned in pain and despair. The demons looked like frightful and unknown animals, all black and transparent. Their vision lasted only an instant, and it horrified them. But they felt immense solace knowing that they were going to heaven. The Lady also told the children 2 other prophetic secrets. Although the other children teased them unmercifully and the adults bullied them, they did not reveal any of the secrets. The fourth apparition did not occur on August 13th because the children were kidnapped by the local administrator, Arthur de Oliveira Santos. However, 15,000 attending pilgrims saw the external phenomenon of Our Lady's arrival and departure. Here is one testimony. At the clap of thunder there followed lightning, and at once we began to notice a small cloud, very pretty, white in color, which hovered over the tree, then rose towards the sky and disappeared. While looking around us, we observed a strange thing, which we had already seen before. The faces of all the people had all the colors of the rainbow: pink, red, blue, green. The trees did not appear to have branches and leaves, but only flowers. Everything seemed laden with flowers, and every leaf appeared to be a flower. The ground was covered with squares of different colors. Clothes were every color of the rainbow. Meanwhile, the administrator demanded that the children tell them the 3 secrets or to confess to lying. First, they tried to intimidate the children by putting them in a cell with criminals. Then they threatened to boil them in oil. The children really believed that they were going to die. After 2 days, the children were taken back to town and released at the church rectory door. On August 19th, the Lady appeared while they tended sheep and reminded them to pray the rosary. She also told them that the miracle on October 13th would have been greater had they not been taken into town. Lucia asked what they should do with all the money people keep giving them. She replied, "Have 2 litters made. You will carry one with Jacinta and two other girls dressed in white. The other one Francisco is to carry, with three boys, like him, dressed in white. It will be for the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. What is left over will help towards the construction of a chapel. Pray and make sacrifices for sinners, for many souls go to hell because they have no one to make sacrifices and pray for them. By the fifth apparition on September 13th, the children had endured much ridicule by the curious, the atheists that ran the newspaper, and the local government. Despite being so young, they stayed totally focused. As mortification for sinners and to end World War I, they wore a coarse rope around their waists that caused great discomfort. When Lucia asked what the lady wanted them to do, she said, "Continue the rosary, that the war may end. God is pleased. But he does not want you to wear the ropes to bed. Keep them on during the day." Lucia said, "I have petitions." Our Lady said, "Some I will cure and some I will not. In October I will perform a miracle that many more will believe." As the lady rose and disappeared in the heavens, Lucia called to the crowd, "If you wish to see her, look!" Among the 30,000 participants, Monsignor Quaresma, the Vicar General, and his companion, Father Goyce, they testified to what many saw. "I saw clearly a luminous globe, which moved from the east to the west, gliding slowly through space. Suddenly the globe disappeared. Near us was a little girl that cried out, 'I still see it! I still see it! Now it's coming down! Now it's going up again!' And she followed the globe until it disappeared in the direction of the sun." The two priests took testimonies from many people of diverse economic and social standing. Both served on the Conical Commission of Inquiry. 70,000 people came for the miracle of the sun on October 13th, 1917. It had rained all night and all morning. The entire Cove of Deria was soaked. There was mud everywhere. When the sun reached its zenith behind the clouds, the lady arrived. She stated that she is the Lady of the Rosary. She instructed the children to build a chapel in her honor and that they should continue to say the Rosary daily. She announced that the war would end. Lucia requested that she grant the many petitions she held. The lady responded, "Some I shall grant, and others I must deny. People must amend their lives and ask pardon for their sins. They must not offend our Lord any more, for he is already too much offended." As the lady began to leave, she turned up her palms, and the miracle of the sun began. Almost all saw the miracle, but some did not. The sun came out from behind the dark clouds and began to act outside the laws of nature. The astronomical observations did not record any unusual activity on that date. Dr. Almeida Garrett from Coimbra University testified, "The sun's disk did not remain immobile. It spun around on itself in a mad whirl. Then, suddenly, one heard a clamor, a cry of anguish breaking from all the people. The sun whirling wildly and loosened itself from the firmament and advanced threateningly upon the earth, as if to crush it with its huge and fiery weight. The sensation during those moments was terrible. There were changes of color in the atmosphere. Looking at the sun, I noticed that everything around was becoming dark. I looked first at the nearest objects and then extended my glance further afield as far as the horizon. I saw everything in an amethyst color. I turned away and shut my eyes, keeping my hands before them to intercept the light. With my back still turned, I opened my eyes and saw that the landscape was the same purple color as before. All which I have described were observed by me in a calm and serene state of mind, and without any emotional disturbance. Father Lorenzo witnessed the miracle from a town 11 miles away. He testified, "I was only 9 years old and went to the local school. About midday we were surprised by all the cries from the street. It was the great miracle, which one could see quite distinctly from the top of our hill. I feel incapable of describing what I saw and felt. I looked fixedly at the sun and did not hurt my eyes. It looked like a ball of snow revolving on itself. It suddenly seemed to come down in a zigzag, menacing the earth. Terrified, I ran and hid myself among the people, who were weeping and expecting the end of the world at any moment." The father of Jacinta and Francisco testified to what he saw. It seemed to flicker on and off, first one way, then another. It cast its rays in many directions and painted everything in different colors: the trees, the people, the air, and the ground. But what was most extraordinary, that I thought, was that the sun did not hurt our eyes. Everything was still and quiet, and everyone was looking up. Then at a certain moment the sun appeared to stop spinning. It then began to move and to dance in the sky, until it seemed to detach itself from its place and fall upon us. It was a terrible moment. When the sun came closer to the ground, it not only terrified the crowd, it warmed the air. The drenched mud and people's clothing dried almost instantly. The visionaries actually had a different experience. All three saw the Blessed Mother clothed in a white robe with a blue mantle standing beside the sun. Saint Joseph and the child Jesus were with her, making the sign of the cross and blessing the world. This apparition disappeared and was replaced by a vision of Our Lady of Sorrows. Our Lord then appeared and blessed the world. Then only Lucia saw Our Lady of Mount Carmel. There was another miracle that occurred. It was told by the 92-year-old woman who insists Our Lady kept her mind alert until she could be interviewed. She was 12 years old at the time and walked up the coast to Fatima to witness the miracle with 4 other girls. We were children, and we pushed our way through the crowd. We came really close to the center where the apparitions were. The 3 shepherd children would never have gotten there unless carried on the shoulders by some big men who pushed their way through the crowd. People put their rosaries on the muddy ground, making the shape of a cross. After the apparition was over, all the rosaries got tangled up. The people were trying to find the right rosary. By this time, the children were back up on the men's shoulders to get through the crowd when they saw this happen. So they slid down from the men's shoulders and took up a handful of the tangled rosaries. They just passed them out. None of them were tangled, and everybody got the right rosary. We watched that happen. The atheist, anti-clerical, pro-government newspaper from Lisbon called O Século published both pictures and testimony about the supernatural event that became known as the Miracle of the Sun. Avelino de Almeida wrote for that newspaper. Most confess that they have seen the dancing of the sun. Others, however, declare that they have seen the smiling face of the Virgin herself. They swear that the sun spun about itself like a ring of fireworks. that it came down almost to the point of burning the earth with its rays. Some say that they saw it change color. And what about the little shepherds? Lucia, she who speaks with the Virgin, tells everyone, with theatrical gestures, being held by a man who carries her from group to group, the war will end and our soldiers will come back. On October 13th, 1930, the apparitions were declared credible by the Bishop of Fatima. That means the public devotion to Our Lady of the Rosary is officially allowed by the Catholic Church. What are the three secrets of Fatima? The first secret was the vision of hell. The second secret was the prophecy of World War II. You have seen hell where the souls of poor sinners go. To save them, God wishes to establish devotion to my Immaculate Heart. If what I say to you is done, many souls will be saved, and there will be peace. The war is going to end, but if people do not cease offending God, a worse one will break out. When you see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that this is the great sign given you by God that is about to punish the world for its crimes, by means of war, famine, and persecutions of the Church and of the Holy Father. Our Lady then said, "If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted, and there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world. The good will be martyred, the Holy Father will have much to suffer, nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she shall be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world." On January 3rd, 1944, Sister Lucia was ordered by the Bishop of Liera to write down the third secret. It was sealed and delivered to Rome. Lucia wrote that she saw an angel with a flaming sword striking the world, but Our Lady interrupted it. The angel cried, "Penance! Penance! Penance!" We saw the immense light that is God, and a bishop dressed in white. We believed it to be the Pope. We saw other religious going up a steep hill. It was a mountain. At the top there was a big cross. The Holy Father passed through a big city half in ruins, afflicted with pain and sorrow. He prayed for the souls of the corpses. At the foot of the cross, he was stricken by a group of soldiers who fired bullets and arrows at him, and other religious and lay people. Beneath the two arms of the cross, there were two angels that gathered up the blood and sprinkled the souls that were making their way to God. Lucia was able to return to Fatima 4 more times through papal invitation. In 1967, she attended the 50th anniversary of the apparitions with Pope Paul VI. John Paul II was shot on May 13, 1981, the 64th anniversary of Fatima. He asked to see the third secret and studied it while recovering in the hospital. He immediately identified himself as the Pope in the secret. In 1982, Sister Lucia accompanied John Paul II to Fatima in gratitude to the Blessed Mother for saving him from an assassin's bullet. He presented this bullet to Our Lady, and it has been incorporated into her crown. As for Francisco, before the apparitions, he liked dropping things into his brothers' mouths as they slept. Afterward, he would buy caged birds and set them free. He would pray and console Jesus in the tabernacle. Francisco came down with the flu in August 1918, received his first Holy Communion, and died the next spring. He is buried in the Cove of Irene in Fatima. Jacinta was a very carefree 7-year-old before the apparitions. After, she fervently prayed. For example, a boy got lost in the woods and the villagers went out to find him. Jacinta appeared to him and escorted him home. However, many saw her at the same time praying without leaving her home. This is an example of bilocation, and this phenomenon has been reported in the experiences of several saints. As prophesied, Jacinta came down with the flu and died. She is laid to rest beside her brother. Sister Lucia's final earthly visit to Fatima was in 2000 to witness the beatification of her cousins Jacinta and Francisco. During the 100th anniversary on May 13, 2017, Pope Francis declared Jacinta and Francisco saints. Lucia passed away on February 13, 2005. She was laid to rest beside Francisco and Jacinta. This is the shrine at Fatima. I hope this amazing story has inspired you on your spiritual journey. Perhaps one day you'll go to visit Our Lady of Fatima and participate in the candlelight ceremonies that occur very often. Thanks for listening to the story. I hope you enjoyed this production of Matters of the Spirit. Please like and share the story with other people. Thank you.